Holy shit. Well, where do I begin? This is my review of episode 5, Cobalt, of season 1 of Fear the Walking Dead, and spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched it. Yo! Extermination. Okay, so we kind of knew that was kind of possibly the plan, but now we know for sure that the military is getting the heck out of Dodge and they're going to exterminate all the civilians in the LA basin, which is the entire region of Southern California, which is pretty freaking intense. And what's also intense was that little scene with the torture scene. Whoa, the thing about this show is I know I've been complaining that it's been a slow burn and whatnot, but I can kind of see now that this show is very different from The Walking Dead. In fact, this show is basically going to be kind of like it's a very tense show. I mean, we have the military, which is basically in the know, and then we have our characters, which are in the dark and slowly discovering what the military already has known for, the whole 9 days. And I guess that's what's so interesting about this show is because we know everything if we've watched The Walking Dead. And so because we're viewing this from our beloved characters' eyes, we're kind of thinking like, come on, come on, come on. Like we know everything, when are you going to get up to speed? And so that whole dichotomy is building the tension, which is why the show might feel like a slow burn. It's because we're anticipating, we're waiting, like we're wanting them to learn. And today they sure as hell did learn. I mean, Ophelia learned that her dad is a torturer, and that little scene near the end where Griselda was ranting in Spanish about how she married Diablo. So I guess she knew all along that her husband was a torturer, even in El Salvador. And we see this torture happening that was pretty gruesome. Also, what I found interesting was this whole idea of like America. We began the episode with the American flag, and then one of the officers says, I have a gun, it's still America, implying that America is this little Wild West and you got your guns. And then later on in the truck, when Travis was asking that guy what happened to him, he's like, oh, it's like a lapse of patriotism. So there's this ongoing theme about patriotism and guns and America and the military. And now we know that they're only saving their own skin and they don't care about the civilians because that's what this little Cobalt means. Now, this new guy, Strand, he's really interesting. At first, I didn't quite know, like, what is his whole role, but I know that he's obviously going to be, like, a major player for the next, probably for season 2. And now we know that he actually, he bartered his expensive cufflinks in exchange for Nick because he knows that Nick has survival skills, and he's going to need Nick's survival skills. And this is boding very well for a really interesting season 2. Because if they break out, well, hopefully next week we get to some kind of resolution at least. Because I want to see Nick and Liza and now Strand get out of the hospital. And since next week is called The Good Man, this is definitely going to be Travis's little journey because we saw tonight that Travis could not pull the trigger. Although in the back of my head, I'm still thinking, like, if I was in Travis's shoes, I would be thinking, what if there's a cure? How do we know that there's no cure? I guess even in The Walking Dead, they don't even really know if there is a cure or not. In fact, if you watch that cheesy show Z Nation, they're actually looking for a cure. I guess in this world, there's just, there's too much danger and there's no cure. And so, killing them in the head is the only option. Of course, we saw that with Griselda and the nurse, how they used that cow gun to humanely terminate or make sure that Griselda did not turn. And now Liza's aware that even people who aren't bit get turned, which is a huge piece of the puzzle in terms of what she knows. I really liked the whole thing with Griselda in the hospital. It was super creepy and dark with all the blood and the plastic and seeing, just it was a very suspenseful episode. Even though we didn't see a heck of a lot of zombies and we didn't see a lot of stuff, like that whole torturing the guy, that was bad enough. And I don't need to see like a lot of zombies. This show is the scariest thing about the show, or about this world is the military. It's the people is what's scary. The zombies are pretty easy to kill. I'm liking what they're doing with the show. I'm looking forward very much to next week, and we'll see how everyone escapes, and we'll see if they escape or not. Who else is going to die? If I had any death predictions here, I would. I mean, Travis is going to be here for the long run. I was reading a quote about how basically the tension between Madison and Travis is going to continue in future seasons. So I guess that's a bit of a spoiler that Travis is not going to die, and that there's going to be tension between Madison and Travis throughout the series. The opening was pretty insane with the neighbor guy just kind of bawling, and I guess this guy Strand was deliberately kind of trying to mess with his mind, talking about his beautiful wife and stuff, so that he would kind of break down psychologically. Because I guess he wanted to be alone with Nick, and he knew that this neighbor guy was extremely weak and wouldn't be of any advantage to him, but he knew that Nick would be. So I guess this guy had a little plan all along. It'll be interesting to know what happens with the neighbor guy. Hope he kind of mans up and toughens up and survives, but we'll see. Also, quite interesting just to kind of see Ophelia's reaction when she realizes what her father's capable of. I didn't care too much for the kids playing house in the rich neighbor's house, but I guess that kind of makes a point. I mean, they're getting slashed. They're realizing the world's ending, and then they're kind of just smashing everything. They realize that material things don't really matter anymore in this world. So it's a bit of an eye opener for them, even though they haven't really seen too much. They probably don't know nearly as much as what everyone else knows. And yeah, I mean, it was just a overall pretty good episode. I mean, it was still a little slow, but Madison didn't really have a lot to do other than her little discovery of the basement torture chamber. The scene that kind of got me the most, I guess, was the whole thing with the military and how they're taking Travis to whatever, supposedly the hospital, although they never quite got to the hospital. I wasn't quite sure what they were trying to actually even do with Travis there. I mean, why would they bring him along? And then I guess, Cobalt was declared, and then they kind of just booked it. Pretty big game changer because the military is going to kill them, or the zombies are going to kill them. I mean, so next week, total game change here, and great episode. I've been kind of waiting for it all week, and now I've got to kind of digest it. I want to hear what you guys think. I'll watch some other reviews, listen to other podcasts, read a bunch of stuff. Please comment on the video. What are your thoughts? Let's have a conversation. I hope you liked this little review, and talk to you soon.